Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network episode 20. This is our weekly live stream where we talk about gear, music production, and music news. My name is Sunwarper, and today I am joined, as always, by my Audionautic co-pilot, Curtis. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, buddy. I am overstretched, but I am doing very well.
I think we all are in that predicament at the moment.
I think, yeah. We all came to the table today, didn't we? We've just gone, right, cool.
It's
all right.
Wednesday already.
Fuck. What happened there? What happened there? But I mean, as ever, it's always, in my case, I don't know about you guys, but for me at least, it's completely of my own doing. So I mean, hey, it's got to be done. Got to be done. Yeah, nice to see you, gents. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. We also have with us today our friend and colleague Eon Lake. What's going on with you?
Hey guys, it's a lot like you. Get sprayed around the edges, but they're not going to get me. They're not.
Yeah.
I'm all right. I'm okay. Just
Yeah.
a little bit frazzled, but
okay.
No, I didn't do this to myself, Curtis. I mean, if there were things I could do it myself, this would not be it.
Yeah. It sounds like it's slightly different situational issues, but we all have come with the same end result of being overworked, overstressed. But we're here, we're chatting gear, we're chatting news. If you're here watching the chat live, consider leaving a like and sharing or retweeting on Twitter. It helps a ton. But yeah, Curtis, what have you been up to that's got you overworked?
Well, that's me as ever. I've been overworking myself. I took last week off work. I took last week away from the day job, and I set myself the goal of finishing the tracking for my LP, my album.
The next one, or the one that's supposed to come out next?
The one that's supposed to come out this year. Yeah.
So at least you're on the right course again.
Yeah, exactly. I set myself that goal, and I did it. I did it bar one track. There's one track that I still need to finish off a bit of stuff for, but I did do it. It's all better in a better space. I've fallen in love with the tracks again.
Cool.
There was a long period where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. I'm going to go write another album. But I've
Sunwarper special.
Exactly. But I know I spent a week. One of those situations where the laptop stayed on, and the Ableton just didn't close for days, and I was just in and out of different mixes. I know it's just been screaming at me. But we're there. I mean, I'm hoping that we're still halfway of summer. I'm hoping to finish the mixing by the end of September. And so, yeah, we're on our way, essentially. We're on our way. Yeah,
nice.
We'll see. Yeah.
Shady Ridge is in the chat. How are you today, my friend? What's going on?
I like to see what's going on. Hey, Shady.
Shady.
Have you seen what's going on with... have you seen the lathe cuts going on Shady Ridge?
I don't know if we can talk about those yet. Has he posted about them? I might.
They're on... He put a post.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. Very cool.
Hey,
yeah, I haven't been on social media much. That's one of my... things that I was going to talk about at the end.
We'll get there. Eon Lake, what you been up to, man?
What have I been up to? I've been updating everything after our chat last week about the SP updates.
I still got to do that.
I updated the Polyend tracker.
Ooh.
A couple of other things.
Did they add anything new on the tracker?
Yeah, they have. I realized I was actually 2 versions behind. So they've been responding to some user feedback as well, and doing some work on the effects sections, adding more parameters to them, and I think changing the algorithms a bit, making it sound better, which is good. They were a little basic, I thought, at first. And I got a large amount. Let's try not to swear too much, eh? We've got a large amount of new material for it to install on it and everything. So I've got a ton of samples on it now.
Nice.
Because it's been hot here, and I know it's not hot like Gobi hot. I've been to the Jordanian desert. I know what hot really is, but it's that horrible English, that really humid hot where you just can't be bothered to do anything. And my studio is right at the top of the house, and as we all know from our elementary science, heat rises, right? So,
And you got all those warm synths just
yeah,
emanating warmth
plenty of
and heat, right?
equipment to generate extra heat. You could fry an egg up here. It's useless. So, what I've been doing as a result is getting outside, like we always said, with a couple of small bits of kit.
What did you bring?
I've been looking at the OPZ again.
There we go.
Because I never really got heavily into it. I got enough into it that I accidentally wrote a song for my last album on it, just noodling it out.
Oops.
Like,
How'd that happen?
Good. I dumped it into Ableton, put a few things on it, and it's like I had to bin a track off the album and put that on because it was better. So I've been looking at that again, and there's stuff on it that it's better than I thought it was. It does more. I'm going to be pissing about with it some more. And combined with the 1010 black box, that's kind of all I need, really. It's just one other sound source apart from the black box, samples, chords, pads, leads, whatever, just a little bit. There's a ton of samples in the black box, 16 tracks of recording, you know. It's enough to have to produce something pretty fully formed, really. But because I'm using these boxes and I'm not in Ableton or anything, I'm missing the effects. I'm missing a shit ton of like, chained up effects and all the Sound Toys stuff. And
just basically, you're just missing Sound Toys. It's really
well, I've realised that my sound is becoming more and more sort of design as well as just, you know, it's about the music. It's always about the music. You guys know that. But it's
about the plugins, the effects.
I do a lot of sound design, and it inspires me sometimes, and I can't really do it without some effects. So I've been doing some weird things, like bang a load of effects on it, resample it, bang a load of effects on it, resample it, bang it.
But then you lose that when you have to fade the sounds out on the front and back end of the sample. You lose that tail, you know. That's my issue with the samples and loops and stuff.
Well, I think I might be able to get around that by making a feature of it and dropping it into the Micron Cascade or something.
There you go. Yeah.
A bloom of ambience. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. Those are the shortfalls. That's what the Help a Brother Out section that maybe we'll come to later.
Yeah.
We have a new feature.
They need something to play with, so we'll come to that later.
Yeah, and Shady Ridge is feeling your pain, Eon Lake, with he says he's got hot, humid weather here in Minnesota as well.
Yeah, yes. Dave was saying, Hydrofight was saying that it just went from like cold to hot without any sort of in between nonsense.
No warning, just switches. Yeah.
Bang.
I wonder why that is. I mean, there's no precedence for such a dramatic change in weather that we could ever possibly think of.
Weather doesn't change.
Nah,
it's all of Eon Lake synthesizers. All like 5,000 of them. They're just emanating so much heat.
It's just creating a wormhole. It's just like
it's just killed the ozone right above his house, and it's affecting the rest of the world.
Is that a second Gulf Stream now going around the other way?
Nothing to do with corporations. It's all Haur. It's all Eon Lake's studio. That's all it is. That's all it is. God help us all. We'll be absolutely fine. Sunwarper, what you been doing, man?
Yeah.
Well, I am a bit under the weather. Been feeling it the last 2 days, especially yesterday. We did a bunch of recording, Curtis and I, for Binary Stars, one of our radio shows.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a struggle in that second episode we filmed. I was like, oh man, but we got through it. We did it. Other than that, I've been slammed with work. I've got a number of mastering projects, and then I've got this composing job where it's for like a comic, like a web comic.
Right.
So it's scrolling, but I have to try to sync it because there's 3 segments of the song. So the first part is like this ambient thing with some guitar. And then the second one switches to 3/4, so I had to figure out a way to like dynamically shift the BPM and the time signature from like 66 to 79, and then go up with the switch to 3/4. And so I did some interesting things where like I added a certain plugin that you all know I love that I won't name as of yet. But I did that, so it started getting more and more ambient, all the sounds, and then I started kind of cluing in the 3/4 arpeggio that I have in the 4/4 part, so it kind of like gets the ear acquainted to that sound, and then when it transitions, it's a little more used to it. But it's been a lot of fun trying to do that. And then the biggest challenge is going to be at the end. It's supposed to get a lot darker and be this like ominous soundscape. And so I have to go from this. Well, it started in D major. The arpeggio part is in I think B minor, whatever the relative minor is. And then I need to figure out a way to make it like really kind of creepy and make that natural. So I'm working on that. It's going to be like a modal shift at the end. But it's been really fun to work outside of that normal thought process of like, here's a full song. Now I have to do certain segments that all kind of match a vibe.
I think that's what Dupes was saying, like way back when last time we had Dupes on the show.
Yeah.
He was saying like work into a loop or work into a set time as opposed to a full composition is quite a challenge, quite an interesting thing.
Yeah.
That was a good episode, that one. So I remember.
Yeah, we haven't had Dupes on for a while.
I wasn't on it. It was good.
It was good. Well, we'll see. Right.
It would have been better were you on it, believe me.
It would.
We always need some added Eon like goodness.
I mean, what was it? Was that a Lightspeed back in the day? God rest its soul.
I think he's been on he was on an Audionautic, and then he was on a Lightspeed or two.
Okay, back in the day. We'd love to have Dupes back online.
Is that on your desk, Sunwarper? What's with the equipment over there?
Which
anything new?
This desk?
Yeah.
I can't afford anything new at the moment, but I
did.
did.
You were moving from one setup to another. Weren't you?
Yes, and the setup has become more and more minimal, and you'll see it on Saturday when I do a live version of my new song Glass Taurus. But the setup now is just these two bad boys.
Really, you've managed to.
So what I did was, I can't play guitar right now with my wrist, so I put all the guitar segments in separate samples. And then I have a couple of like pads or loops on this, and then I just have to magically try to sync this playing with like the loop that I make on the SP. But it sounded really cool.
Right, yeah.
It sounded really cool, and I don't want to. There's probably a way to link the two to actually have them like in sync, but I kind of like that little bit of wonkiness that can happen if you just slightly hit the start points off. Like it just gives it that little added bit of like.
I think it's fun if
human.
they start. You press start, but if you've got the kit that's sort of like you press start and it will start shortly after you press it, that could be.
Yeah, that's an issue. But I don't have that. Luckily, with this song, I'm setting up what I think is going to be a full live set of probably like 5 or 6 songs, and in that manner, it may not happen till after I get back from the wedding and the honeymoon. But yeah, this is like the trial run of it is running through Glass Taurus, the song that's out on Friday. Just seeing like if I can get it, and it was fun breaking the circuit out again because the circuit has been benched for like a good 2 months or something, or a month. So
that was your newest edition as well.
No, the SP's the newest. I've had the circuit for well over a year now.
Of course, yeah. All right, okay.
Yeah.
Of course, though. I mean, it was in everything for the longest time.
Yeah, it's not in my recorded releases, but all my YouTube stuff. But this was really cool. Where I love the intuitiveness of the circuit. Like nothing is as fast of a workflow as a circuit. No screens, but you just like can do everything so quickly, and there's a lot you can do. I mean, I have my complaints with I think it's the Nova engine, whatever the engine of the synth sounds are. Like they're not that great, and they don't really update I think it's still from like 10 years ago or something. But that's where samples and stuff from the SP come in handy. So
you have the option to just take the sequencing from the circuit and just send it as external MIDI to something else that does sound good.
Yes, that is true, and that's what I usually do with either the Erebus or the TR-08 or the Minilog. But I'm trying to keep this as minimal as possible because I'm kind of thinking of filming the live set like out in a park or something.
Yeah.
Doing the Eon Lake. So I was like, I don't want to bring any like both of these can be battery powered. Granted, this SP probably takes like. I don't know, what is it, 8 AA batteries or something for like 10 seconds of playback?
The uranium generator.
Yeah, I'm just gonna I'm gonna cause like a nuclear explosion or something at this park.
If you've got a good high output battery pack and you plug it into the USB, it can power off that. Okay. And I one, it wasn't too criminal in how quickly it drained it. I mean, a good modern power pack that's got a high output will last long enough for you to do something practical with it, like do some recording or do some performing. I think you'll get enough time out of it, definitely.
Okay. The circuit battery is great.
No, I just have to put your perfectionism at the side for a bit, because then spend an hour like rehearsing, getting ready, then you turn the cameras on and the battery goes. So I mean,
Yeah, no, you get one go at it, I think, and that's it. And whatever mistakes are there, they're just Bob Rossi and happy accidents, you know.
There you go. That's what you need. That's what you need. So we'd like to know what you guys have been doing if you're in the chat. Thank you for joining us today. It's really nice to have you here. This live stream is brought to you by our patrons, and that's really nice. They are there, and they pledge every month, and we invite you to do the same thing. The more that you do, the more that we can do this. Yeah, it's exclusive deals. Deals is not quite the right word, but there's exclusive content.
There we
Content,
go.
that's the one. Thank you very much.
Got you covered, bro.
Thank you very much. Exclusive content. There's early access to everything that we put out ahead of time, including releases through the label, that kind of thing. In the next few days, I'll be putting up a precursor to Fragments 2, my EP, which won't be out until September. But if you're a patron, you can get it 'cause it's ready to go. It's just sitting in the docket. So consider. Pledges start at $2 per month. So yeah, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, you can head to patreon.com/audionautic. And I'm proud of myself for not messing that up, because yesterday I felt so sick. I said you can head to audionautic.com/Patreon, but don't do that because we don't have a website at the moment. So patreon.com/Audionautic. And Hydro Fighter is in the chat. How are you doing? Are you managing through the heat as Shady is?
We'll say nice to have you here, Hydro Fighter. Hope you're well. Hopefully see you halfway through. We are at 31 minutes past the hour, gentlemen. Should we have a look at some of the news? What's been going on?
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff.
We've got a lot of news.
We not have dramatic music for this bit, you know?
Yeah, we do need a dun dun dun.
Fear. Stay inside. All that stuff. It's all good. So we're going to start with this coming up. This came from Sunwarper. Sunwarper found this. As we all know, Sunwarper is massive on YouTube right now, or massively into YouTube right now. So what's going on here, Sunwarper? It's all about lo-fi and copyright.
Yeah, so I believe it's come back since then, but there was like a false copyright claim on Lo-Fi Girl, which is probably the biggest lo-fi live stream on YouTube. If not the, it's one of, but it's huge. Like all of a sudden one day it just stopped, and their live streams all showed, you know, like 20 million hours, but you couldn't watch it. But you know how like when a live stream ends, you'll see the time, the duration of it. I mean, it was just like astronomically long, but you couldn't play it. And it was like, yeah, that picture that's on the website you posted, that it just said this live stream recording is not available. One copyright strike from some random thing, some random company or something claiming that a song they used was, you know, used falsely or whatever, and it
was malicious, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently I saw something that Lo-Fi Girl only usually plays their own like songs licensed through them or something like that. And but the thing with YouTube copyright is that anyone can make a claim, and it's always in favor of the person making the claim rather than the person being accused. Like there's very little you can do when you're hit with a copyright strike. Like I've done those sleep states, and one of them got hit with a claim from someone that we're friends with and all that, and they were totally fine with me using the music, but it was through like CD Baby, and CD Baby has this thing where like when you use someone's song that's licensed through them or whatever, they just automatically do not allow you to have that whole video up, even if the song's only used for a small amount of time or something, which is of course an issue that I feel like, because wouldn't you want to just put monetization on it so that the artist is getting exposure, your company's getting exposure, and the artist is getting, or your company's getting paid and your artist is getting paid as well, because the company, CD Baby and those, take it. Now some don't do that, they just add monetization, but it's just a very weird system. When you try to fight it, it's like there's not really anything you can do.
I think that the issue that she raised was it was a malicious request, right? So it's just that if somebody wants to mess you up, all they've got to do is to say
that's what I'm saying. There's nothing really you can do to fight it.
Just take it down immediately.
Yeah.
No investigation that occurs before the takedown.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, you know, all right, they reinstated this and she got an apology, but you know, as she so very rightly said, and nice one, that smaller people, smaller creators that don't have that kind of following just don't get listened to, and it's almost to the point where you just have to make another account, start all over again.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, is that it's completely all in favor of the person making the claim, and there's very little you as a creator can do. And yeah, they've got millions of followers and tons of Twitter followers and stuff that were all spreading the word. And of course, YouTube responded. Usually when you have a large following, you also get like a YouTube correspondent that you can talk to and stuff. So, I mean, there's that, which smaller creators don't have and things like that. But, I mean, it's just even the fact that someone this large, it can happen to them, and there was very little they could do for a while until there was outrage and stuff that brought it up. It's just ridiculous, this whole system that YouTube uses.
Now, to play devil's advocate for a minute, I can understand why they're doing it this way, because if you imagine staffing having to respond to all these complaints and investigate them in a timely manner, because it's a legal issue, and the longer it goes on, the more it's going to cost you, sort of thing. I imagine it could spiral out of control or whatever. But at the same time, it's clearly not working, and you've built a whole platform based on creators' content, but it works completely against their interests in this way. It's broken. It needs to be different.
I'm sure there's a middle ground between, like, as you're describing, and I totally get that. That'd be ridiculous. But it is also YouTube, which is owned by Google, and also the second highest search engine, a searched
How is this not on
website.
radar? Do you know what I mean?
Say again, sorry, you got a bit stuck
How
on.
is this not on their radar as part of developing the platform?
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is, because people have been complaining about it for years, and it's only gotten worse. A lot of our not just artists, but YouTube creators have these issues because vloggers and stuff can get
progress.
Yeah, they haven't done anything, and I don't think they will.
Progress.
Well, I mean,
same thing. Right? Just take it down. If there's any question, take it down. Let them scream about it for a bit. Maybe they'll put it back up. Maybe they'll let you have your channel back. Maybe they won't.
I mean, YouTube itself is a behemoth in the sense that it's so vast, and the platform on which it was kind of created for is almost become too big to handle. And the fact now that since they brought in AI to do all this stuff, because all this is automated, you make a copyright claim, the AI shuts it down. It's none of it's, and then it gets reviewed by a human being, or supposedly a human being, and but basically it's too big, it's too convoluted, and it's too wide a net for us to do anything. It's becoming. I mean, we're sitting here on YouTube. Let's not forget that. And let's not fight the hand of fate. But like I
love it.
So what now?
Greatest website ever.
Yeah, I love it. We love you, YouTube. We love you. Yeah. But it's. I mean, that's why all these little indie things are popping up, like Nebula and Curiosity Stream and stuff like that, which are a bit more kind of cooperative in their own way. And I mean, they serve a purpose in their own right. I mean, now that you're seeing 40-second adverts before you can watch a 30-second short on YouTube.
Yeah, it's ripe now, isn't it? I was just thinking earlier that, I mean, all of this is just, for me, it's just adding up. Someone else is going to come along, like a TikTok is going to come along, and then that's like YouTube's just going to get pushed to the side a bit.
I mean, that's what happens, though, right?
Yeah.
That's always what happens,
I mean, Spotify are doing video content now. I mean, we put these live streams up on Spotify and all those. I mean, if you don't happen to catch the live stream and you're watching this back, you can also get our podcast on Spotify
and Apple Podcasts. And if you so desire, you can leave a rating and a review, because that helps those algorithms a ton get our podcast out there and help us grow.
Yeah, entirely. And wasn't that a lovely
I was just going to say that was a
good.
gorgeous segue. That was just stunning.
Point being, for little indie channels such as ours, the climb up the way is even harder because of things like this. Like when we did Audionautic Radio back in the day, we're getting copyrights every week, which we don't do Audionautic Radio for us. We do it because we want to showcase the great music that's out there. But that's
there is a scene to be represented, right?
Yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff going on.
Exactly, and we get penalized for doing it. So it's thanks to you guys listening that we are where we're at, and your shares and your likes and everything are great.
And our patrons.
And our patrons, we really appreciate it.
Incredible patrons,
yeah, great. So thank you very much. So yeah, that's the latest on YouTube. What else have we got on the docket in terms of news? I think the next big thing
I was gonna
big
say
thing.
you're usually the one that
I'm
runs through.
I'm the
I don't know.
I'm the
I wanna
dude with
look
the,
at my screen.
I'm the guy with the second screen. I should know this shit. shouldn't I, really? It is, yes. Next up is the world of vinyl, which after so long now, so long, we are still having issues with vinyl. All three of us are interested in or doing vinyl to a certain degree. The many people in the community put things out on vinyl, and
Yeah,
the
we've
waiting
got some
times.
coming out in October.
Exactly. And
Wink,
I mean,
wink.
wink, wink. Yeah, entirely. But I mean, vinyl sales continue to grow. 2021, they went up by 61%, and the first $1 billion for the first time since the 1980s. So the vinyl return of the vinyl. I don't know what you want to.
It keeps growing. The demand for vinyl keeps growing, but the production has not changed.
Oh.
No, I think some new plants are planned, but everybody's saying that's not enough.
There was that whole situation in 2020 and 2021, and still going on now.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. But it's really interesting to me just how how this is still being delayed through. This is still a problem. This is still an issue that's coming through. Obviously, plants take time to set up and things like that. But people are just the nostalgia is real with the zeitgeist.
Yeah,
it's really interesting to see.
I think one workaround for now are like lathe cuts. Lathe vinyls. That's a nice middle ground. You still get the vinyl. The quality may not be as good, but it's still vinyl, and it can be produced much faster in smaller quantities. So for independent artists, lathe cuts are a really cool way to go. I know that Shady just did it. We use lathe cuts when we do vinyl, like in October. And but it's interesting to me that there's been this ongoing issue about vinyl production, and the vinyls that do get produced oftentimes have issues and have to be reproduced. And the quality of vinyl production has degraded. The amount that can be done has gone down, but the demand for it and orders for it just keeps going up and up. And it's like, where's that point where, like Eon was saying, when are these new plants going to be constructed? Because for a while, I remember vinyl producers were saying, well, the demand's not high enough to justify making new things or getting new machines or making new plants, but we're trying to like meet this growing demand while not growing the production. So it's like, when does it, or have we already hit that part where we need more production, but they're just not doing it?
Well, we have to see where that comes through on that end. Like, I think I feel like if at this rate, the demand will never be met, and it will just continue to go until people stop buying vinyl. But even in our community, vinyl is such a kind of a big sought after event. I mean, Eon Lake, it was one of your big goals to get a track on vinyl.
It is, right? Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, apart from the nostalgia and everything, and the art size and everything, the point is that even before all of this started happening, there are a number of small record labels all around the world that sort of built a boutique business out of doing, short run special edition vinyl, creating something a bit beautiful looking, beautiful sounding that drew people back in. And I think that's got a lot to do with it. But they had a whole business model around this, and now because of the current situation, some of them are finding it incredibly difficult to operate.
Yeah.
And they're providing like a real service. I mean, they all have their own characteristics. They all have specific sounds. They're representing representing scenes that exist and are vibrant and so on. And it's the beauty of what we do to a lot of extent. And it seems a bit wrong, really, that sort of the majors are benefiting from this resurgence in vinyl and then choking up all the plants with massive runs of re-editions and so on. I get, demand and supply. We all understand that, and there is a place for it. It's just difficult that people who really made it an art kind of made it popular again, and now they don't get a look in, and it's so hard for them. It really is, and it's a shame because the world is a better place for it. There's some fantastic stuff out there. There really is.
Yeah. Over in the chat, Shady says that there's supposed to be a new pressing plant being opened here in the Minneapolis area soon. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder, has that come up recently, Shady, or was that news like a while ago that's been delayed because of 2020 and all that? I'm just curious.
It'd be nice to see.
Affected it.
News though.
Yeah, we'd also like to know. Where do you guys get your? Well, where how are you getting around this? Are you just not bothering with vinyl? Have you got a specific place that you go to? We have suppliers that we use here at Audionautic, but we'd be keen to understand more about what's going on in that world from your end, essentially, because as ever, we're just a bunch of dudes who know some stuff but not everything.
Yeah, I'd be curious too. Have you worked around it by doing CDs, cassettes, or do you prefer doing CDs, cassettes? That's something we haven't done yet, cassettes, and that is something I'd like to do at some point. I know, Shady, you've done some cassettes, and Shady just said that he saw this news about the vinyl plant about 2 months ago. So interesting, yeah. So maybe now they're catching up and starting to plan for more vinyl production.
Cool. There we go. We are at 45 minutes past the hour. We have a new segment, which I feel like this would be a nice time to get into. 2 mini segments, so to speak. Because Hydrofighter is also waiting in the lobby, and I don't want to deny him entry, so we'll do him in a bit. But
you can bring him in now if you want, because he might be useful for the news segment.
Yeah. That's a good point. Let's bring him in. This is the part of the show. Hydrofighter is one of our patrons. And we invite our patrons to come in on the half-hour mark. They get the Google Meet link, and they're always welcome to come and join us for a chat, essentially. And Hydrofighter has become a solid companion throughout all this. So, should we let him in?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Let's get him in. So here we go. And there he is. Oh, there he was. There he is.
That always happens. Hey, Steve, how you doing, man?
Place anywhere.
Yeah, we got you. How you doing, man? What's going on?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
That's good.
Cool. I'm good. Do you want to get on with your next new segment right off the bat here?
Hydrofighter, can you raise your volume up maybe like 1 or 2?
Check. 1.
That should be good, yeah.
Okay.
I don't want you yelling at me later, being like, "It's not loud enough."
Well, I'll probably be yelling, eating the microphone like
as Curtis loves to do.
But yeah, apart from the heat, it's all good at your end, Hydrofighter. You're all good, yeah?
Yeah, actually, it's not too bad today. It's supposed to get a little bit more humid towards the weekend, but we deal with it. Complain about the cold in the wintertime, complain about the heat in the summertime. Love the fall.
Is there? I was gonna say, is there a happy medium like the fall or something?
Fall's awesome. I love fall.
You might as well be English, really. To be honest. As far as we're the same. We complain when it's too hot. We complain when it's too cold, and then when it's a bit drizzly, we're just kind of like, all right, life's all right.
It's just right.
Wasn't it? Should get back in there.
Say it one more time, Yonlo. We can make that work. So yes, all right. So we've got 2 new mini segments, so to speak, and we're really building this up, but really they're just like little pieces of information. The first one, Eon Lake is called "Help a Brother Out." So Eon Lake, would you like to bring this through?
Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, I'm doing little bits of music outdoors just because it's too hot up here sometimes, especially last thing at night when you're tired. It doesn't help because it starts putting you to sleep. So outside sessions, minimal gear. The one thing I'm really feeling is not really having a lot of effects. If you're wanting to do something ambient or large or spacious and so on, and constantly resampling stuff only gets so far. So I'm thinking, what do I need to pair my equipment with to get some flexibility of sound, some physical, it could be a stomp box, but effects processing. Not something that does the kind of reverb or delay that you would get in a piece of equipment like the 1010 black box, but something that really does crazy stuff, like plugin that shall not be named.
Oh, getting close to that one.
I don't mean like that, but I mean something that is, does everything from sensible to completely off the scale, like sound design weirdness. These are the sort of things I find are missing from sort of like hardware-based minimal setups. So can anyone recommend good physical hardware effects that are, maybe not too expensive? I think maybe someone I know knows something.
I got my hand up. The Big Sky, man. It is expensive though, but the Big Sky will meet all of your reverb and possibly some like warped delay from a certain plugin. It does a lot of that stuff. Curtis is like, just say the damn name.
Just say it, bro. Just say it. Just say it.
No, because I know you're going to go, oh, we made it 50 minutes in and now we said it. So, no, I
I'm
refuse.
losing respect for you. Just say it, man. Just say it.
No, it's funny as fuck. No, I'm a secondary for the big. I've got the big sky on my pedalboard, and I'm doing that because my pedalboard's underneath the desk. It is.
Right down here.
I don't know.
Biggest guy you'll ever see.
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm sorry about that.
just bringing down the tone.
You're supposed to be the wise, mature one, and here we go.
Yeah.
Exactly. No,
Again, sorry. Yeah.
exactly. The big sky is beautiful. You can also get the blue sky.
Yeah,
Blue sky?
I don't think that
Smaller?
has the range that he's looking for. I don't think it goes to that like.
And it's
cloud
gotta be
level.
stereo, right? And
So then, yeah, you're gonna need the big. You're gonna need the big sky.
You could try something like I talked about this last week when we talked about Donner, but this Donner pedal, it has a mod delay that's pretty long, but it's nothing. It's not gonna meet like a Valhalla something. Curtis.
Hey!
I didn't say the name. I just said a plugin company. That's it. There's multiple plugins they offer. Some are free and are great, and they should turn into hardware. You know,
the
but
problem is, left to my own devices, I start looking at things like Chase Bliss and these other companies and thinking, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, I want all of their pedals, and they're 500 quid a pop. So
the Big Sky's like 400 or 500 too. But there's also that Night Sky, which you might really enjoy. I think it's called Night Sky. It's one of Strymon's newer pedals. It's not. It does some really weird, in a good way, reverb stuff. You may want to check that out. But again, I think it's 400 or 500.
If it does something that's kind of like normal reverby stuff to huge reverby stuff, but it does anything else weird as well, then that's the coolness as far as I'm
pretty
concerned.
cool. I think Perry Frank uses it quite a bit, or did.
It's the kind of person I was thinking of when I posed this question.
Yeah.
Guitar-y chaps, especially ambient guitar-y chaps, probably know a bit about this, right?
You can also stack several reverbs on top of each other, like get a few of these cheap ones and put them, very high wet or something, and at some point it'll probably just become this like expansive drone, and maybe like a carbon copy delay in there to add a little bit of wonkiness or something. I mean, that's getting you'd probably have to drop the same as a Strymon to get enough of the pedals, to do that, but that is an idea too.
Grundorf, you're going to need a Grundorf for all of whatever you want to take with you, though, right? I mean, just like you talked about with your modular stuff, you got to get the right case for how you want to make it mobile or make it work.
Yeah.
I don't use a lot of external effects, so I don't really think about that.
You don't really need to, do you? Most of the time.
I have a laptop. I mean, I take my laptop with me wherever I go. When I go hang out with Shady, I usually got the laptop. I go to the lake cabin. I take the laptop. But I don't really work on. I know, man. I don't really work on music a lot in those environments because I want to enjoy being outside.
That makes sense.
So be nice to know what you guys think. Let us know if there's anything. I mean, you've heard what we have to say, but I mean, there are other reverb and delay pedals out there. Nice to see. Maybe
you can never have too many of them.
No, especially if you're Eon Lake.
And it may not have to be that hi-fi, right? So
Oh, that's one thing. You could look on Etsy. Like this thing I got. Well, actually, my fiance got it for me. But this thing, I mean, it's probably not what you're looking for. This thing is a Fuzz Delay. I mean, it goes nuts. But this guy, I think his name's Frank Anvil FX or something.
Frank Perry?
No, it's like Frank the Anvil FX or something. But his pedals are like $50 to $100, and they're incredible.
Send me a link, dude.
I will, yeah, I will. This thing, I don't know if he makes it anymore, but this thing is just awesome. It gives it that like instant Boards of Canada sound, but then it just warps the crap out of it, and you can get these wild like if you just up the feedback, it just starts making noise and then delays it. Like it's just like a noise machine. It's so cool. I love it.
It's almost self-oscillation.
It is pretty much. It does. Yeah. If you just crank the feedback up, it starts going like whoa, whoa, and like you can echo it on it. It's really cool.
I love that. you just turn it up.
Yeah, it's
And
sick.
it's huge as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the sort of thing I'm after, definitely.
Okay, I don't know if he's got that one up, but yeah, like if you listen to my song, I think it's "Motionless Travels" on like an EP from 2020. That whole sound from the synth is just a prophet going through that, and it's so like crumbly and warped. It's
Well, in
awesome.
theory, it's great, right? Because it's got echo on it, and
Yeah.
echo's awesome anyway. But if you've got some sort of overdrive saturation or something like that, that's going to bring out the harmonics
Yeah.
in delay so that you get a more harmonic delay.
This thing's crispy, but maybe you can find it on like eBay or something. You might really vibe with. It's called the Mr. like Mr. Howard Fox E. Mr. E, because it's a mystery. Sick pedal, and he's got some Tube Screamer clones. I've got a couple things from him. I got a really cool tremolo, but yeah, I mean they're like pretty cheap with really good build quality. But even other people on Etsy, they make pedals. You might find some really cool reverbs. I always forget to go.
I kind of like the idea of getting weird, obscure stuff.
Yeah, little boutique stuff,
making an interesting noise and feeding off that as well.
Yeah,
make it work. Well, we'll see. Let us know. Put it in the comments, or just hit Eon Lake up, and we'll see. We'll see what. I'll probably come back next week with 10 new pedals. So we're gonna see what happens.
Right.
I'm gonna look and see if I can find that Etsy and just put it in the chat.
We'll go from there.
Sure.
Well, in the meantime, we'll go from hardware to software.
There we go.
I just wanted to. This is more of a shout out than anything else. I mentioned a few pieces of VSTs a couple of weeks back, and people were like, what's that? So, in a slow news week, I just wanted to bring people's attention to Yuhi and Hydrophone. I don't know. I know you use a lot of Arturia. Do you experiment much with your VSTs, or do you have like a set VSTs that you're now part of?
It kind of depends on the time of the year and depends on my mood. I mean, now it's really been kind of stuck with what my game plan is, so I haven't been experimenting too much. But we talked about it in the past, where a lot of times you just want to tear apart your VSTs first before you move on to the next thing to make sure you got a grip on it before you start dropping cash on it, right?
Completely, yeah. In a similar vein, I wanted to just bring this up. Yuhi, this is from Yuhi or Yuhe, depending on where you are in the world. This is the triple cheese from Yuhi.
Oh, you mentioned this. Yeah.
Stinky.
Yeah, it is a stinky VST, and it's really, really nice. It's completely 100% free as well, which is kind of why I'm bringing this up. For anyone who might be looking for something that is spacey and that gives you lots of versatility in your sound design and what you want to do. It's great for pads, and it's great for leads, especially. Basses are weak, but I mean, it is what it is. But it's a very nice interface with so many different presets. There's 254 factory presets in there. There's plenty to get around with, and then you can mod any of them up to your liking. You've got two envelopes in there as well as LFOs. But the reason I bring this up, not only because of the sound design ability, but also again, it's free, which is always lovely and beautiful, but also it's really low CPU, which is becoming more and more of
rare thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on an 8-year-old laptop. I know that other people are in a similar boat to me. My computer is just consistently screaming at me. So to bring in something like this, where there's very low CPU, and that you can make the MIDI before freezing it and then flattening it, for example, this is really, really nice. There's a couple from you here. I know you have the Diva Sunwarper, don't you? You use the Diva.
But that's not free, unfortunately. I use even more than Diva. I use Repro 1 and 5 because you know I love profits. Yuhi's got some great stuff. I think they have the Zebralet or something for free as well. And then there's the Tyrell or something that's on that German website.
Tyrell's free, but you have to go to the German website to get it. Yeah, and that's really good for bass anyway. I've used it for some.
The Tyrell is really good for bass. But basically, I'm just highlighting because
we love free stuff.
We love free stuff, and everyone loves free stuff.
Yeah.
This is a really good VST.
Yeah, and if anyone in the chat has some that they enjoy, let us know in the comments or in the chat, because we're always looking for new free stuff to cover and talk about. And a lot of times we don't know all the other stuff, or it's good to learn new things. So yeah, let us know in the chat.
Especially low CPU as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of rare. Everything assumes that you've
It's like
got
a unicorn.
machine now.
Exactly.
It's a bonus to having something that's. I mean, that's the thing. Good thing about Yuri. He's a legend. There's not a thing they've made that ever sounds bad.
Exactly.
Some of them, admittedly, are deliberately, because of the modeling used, really CPU intensive. Some of them really aren't, and every single one sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, Diva is a diva when it comes to CPU.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
And
It's powerful.
When you read about it on the page, don't they? They say, warning, it's a little bit heavy, but
A little bit heavy.
A little bit heavy. Yeah. But
it's
it's
a regular machine.
I mean, these days I'm opening up one instance of, say, Vital, for example, and my computer is just like, please, no, please,
Stop.
no more.
That thing's just like hanging by a thread.
It is. It really is.
A thread of a thread. Like, it's just.
Exactly. So we'll see. But yeah, might tickle your fancy if you're watching. Maybe Hydrofire, a bit of experiment. Take a few.
Yeah, it looks cool. It looks really cool.
It's a cool little thing.
It's polyphonic. I mean, you got the 3 operators for free. Looks like a pretty good deal.
Exactly. So I thought I'd bring it to people's attention because, I mean, I like to spread the word, share the love, etc.
Yeah, we're always trying to share good free stuff. Curtis, weren't you using that on the song you're doing for Starstream? I feel like we talked about Triple Cheese.
Yeah,
What song I'm doing for Starstream? Oh, right. Sorry. I thought
something you're doing for Starstream. Yeah, definitely.
That thing I'm doing.
It's only the thing we've been doing for like 3 or 4 months.
I was just like, hang on, am I making a track on the podcast?
Yes, you are.
It's like, I'm making a track and then bring it to the podcast. Yeah, totally. And it's, like I say, it's great for pads, great for drones. It's very spacey. And so as we've all got kind of an organic sound going on, it's nice to kind of just throw a bit in. I've just cut it from there. Exactly.
Yeah, and just for those who don't know what we're talking about, Starstream is our monthly Patreon exclusive podcast, and at the moment, each month, Curtis, Eon Lake, and myself are trading stems that we make, and then creating songs out of those stems to make what we call Toy Box collaboration EP, where we put all these different stems from each person together to create these songs. And even though they all start from the same sound sources, they become quite different when our own influences and knowledge take over and utilize them.
But always beautiful.
Always.
Yeah.
And we say that ourselves as people who are making these tracks ourselves. They are the most beautiful piece of music that you're ever going to hear.
But yeah, if you want to check it out, it's over on the Patreon.
Completely. Exactly.
That's audionautic.com.
Yeah, audionautic.com/Patreon if that existed, but no, it's patreon.com/audionautic.
You're going to have to set that up with a redirect now.
Maybe we should just get a website and just be done with it.
Yeah, I think that is wise at some point.
We'll get it done. Right, gentlemen, that is a lot of gear talk, and that is a lot of everything that we've been talking about. We are 3 minutes past the second hour, so round robin.
Round robin.
From the hardware into the mind.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention. As you guys are aware, or might have been aware, I took last week off work, and I basically spent most of my time in Ableton. Those situations where Ableton doesn't close, and those situations where the sun rises, I'm in Ableton. The sun sets, I'm in Ableton. The sun rises again, and I'm still in Ableton.
You can see a montage of
a time lapse of just him on a computer as the sun rises and sets. Yeah,
exactly. And I did it. I set myself a task, and for the majority, I kind of finished it in a way. However, I realized that I may have gone too far in my idea, because coming out after 4 days, like sunlight just kind of coming out.
Vampire.
Right.
And so I just wanted to bring it. I've wanted to bring it into the discussion today about how we maintain balance in and out of the studio. And we are aware of certain things. Obviously, we have family life, we have personal life, we have friends, relatives, loved ones. We have things to do that is not music, and we have things that we do that don't involve sitting at this particular desk. Would you believe it or not? And I personally, I'm not very good at doing that. I love this and I love this all the time.
Who needs the sun, right?
I can
Exactly.
focus on that.
Exactly. But it is important to maintain balance, and it is important to understand that there is more, and you actually are a producer, a better producer, if you do step away and do other things, for example. So I wanted to just ask you guys and get around some ideas about how you guys identify your pitfalls when you might be going too far in terms of the studio, and what you do to take a break, how you remind yourself about taking breaks, and perhaps the lessons that you have learned when taking breaks from the studio.
And who do you want to go first? And before that, a welcome to Bit Cloudy says hi, sorry, only just joined, but I have Triple Cheese 2, only used it once, I think. Yeah. Are you planning to use it more, or did you not vibe with it? Just curious.
Have we talked you into it?
Yeah, maybe Curtis talked him into it.
We'll see.
The name, I feel like, doesn't do it many favors, but I'm sure there's a reason for it.
Jeez, I love it.
Maybe it's memorable. That's true, actually. It does stick in your head, so maybe it does do it some favors.
We'll see. Who wants to be put on the spot this week? Let's start with Eon Lake, because we normally start with.
Well, it's put me on the spot. I thought I'd do Hydrofight first.
I'll go if you want me to.
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, go on.
You guys know, I mean, Shady and we're weather generated, right? So
I love that. I love
weather generated.
You should put that on the KST bio. KST.
Weather generated.
I mean, it's summertime for us here. He gets into his golf, so it's really about the balance of when can we squeeze music in the summertime versus not taking a break from it. So he does his golf thing. I do my motorcycle thing. My parents have a lake cabin type of thing. So it's really getting outside and enjoying it. In terms of and that's what makes me love working on music in the fall, in the winter, going into winter, is when you get into those really cold days. I don't feel guilty about being directly connected to Ableton for however many hours. I mean, I don't know if I'm at intervention level like you are, Curtis, but I don't have any problems just getting into it. And if I've got ideas I want to work through, I'm going to do it. If I get burned out, take a break. Listen to some other music, right? Yeah. Go listen to rock stuff or jazz stuff or classical stuff or whatever, just to freshen up the ears so I'm not thinking about electronic music. So I think it's really the burnout that we think about. You know, when I've done it before, like what you've done, Curtis, where I've done like all-nighters where I'm working on a song. I think I've got a really good idea. I listen to it the next day and like, wow, that was a waste of a night.
Oh, right? That struggle, yeah.
Yeah, because you burn your ears out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It looks like... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, you think about Eon, too, where he wants to take it outside. He wants to take... Because, I mean, it's the same concept, right? Different platforms. Get away from the DAW.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Psychological difference. Maybe difference in starting songs, finding other ways in, getting to learn stuff a bit better as well, all at the same time. Hopefully, it's a mixture that helps.
And I do my...
We just named your next LP, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say that Hydro Fighter, even though it's summer, you pried Shady off of the golf course because he's working on music now. He says that Weather Generated is the new album name.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess you inspired him.
Yeah. We better get started. We better get started on that one. Yeah. So what was the other thing I was going to say about that? You know, I do a kind of assembly line type of style, so I write on the hardware certain things. I mean, if I want to do keyboard, piano type of stuff, I do it then. When I want to nitpick things in terms of like EQing and stuff like that, I don't mind sitting on the couch, having the laptop up and throwing some cans on to do that type of stuff. Move around. I don't know, not restricted to a single studio type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's the beauty of working on a laptop is that you can take it anywhere you want to go, essentially.
Yeah, it fits so well on top of my belly too.
I know, right? I know that feeling. It's all good. Yeah, entirely. Well, it's an interesting place to start with. Eon Lake, what are your thoughts on this?
So, I don't have a lot of problems with going too far because I don't tend to get enough time to, and that's sometimes just circumstance and sometimes it's deliberate. Sometimes I do timed sessions. So when I'm doing a targeted session where I've got a track, I've set it to something that I'm going to work on again, and I've figured out what I want to try in the next session, and I'll give myself an amount of time to do it, and I'll just do it. And if I do everything on the list, great. If I don't do everything on the list, it doesn't matter. The list is just there to start me off, and it's just so that I try things and try and push it in the direction I think it should be going, having listened to it out of the studio. So I don't ever listen to stuff in here, really. I always export and bounce it to an MP3, and I listen to it somewhere else at another time, so that I'm not really sort of making a judgment about whether it's or not it's any good. Just need to create lots of stuff, and then I can listen to it later and think, which bits do I like, which bits could even maybe go together in the same song. I don't know. But yeah, I don't get long enough to get too out of my depth, really. I do sometimes find that I'm just beginning to just follow the motions a bit. I can see it beginning to happen. So I'm after that flow state where you're inspired, doing things, feeding off something, on a roll. When that stops and I find myself fiddling around with things and tweaking and so on, it's like, well, this is a waste of time. I don't need to do that. I certainly don't need to do it now. I'm trying to be doing the creative stuff now. So I'll just switch to another song. I like to have at least 6 songs in progress, if not 36,
I like that. I like that.
Just changing songs. And also listening, like Hydrofighter said, listening to music that inspires you in between as well, so that, especially different kinds of music. Yeah, I've been listening to different things recently that just remind me about other aspects of music that I find powerful. So it can make you try and do different things when you do come back to it. I've come to realize I know when I'm just prattling about and noodling, and that's like it's time to do another song, change it up, or to just stop and just say call it a day. But usually my sessions are short enough and my time is limited enough that it doesn't get too out of shape. I do still get that thing sometimes. I think it's just the best music ever. I listen to it the next day and it's oh god.
I like that idea of putting it to bed if it's not working, because I somewhat do that too. Ableton's really easy to say, all right, well I can steal a track from another song and drag it into another song. So if there's some idea that at least gave you inspiration, you can pull that out and it's not just dead.
So I always put a BPM and song key in the title so that if I'm going to do that, I've got some idea of what I was doing.
Just soak it in reverb.
Yeah.
Always.
Doesn't work, just repitch it until it stops making your ears bleed.
That could work. I mean, keeping it fresh, like running around. I'm in a similar sense. I'll have multiple tracks going, and it's like in a one session might be 2 or 3, depending on how long I'm doing it. Just kind of running through. If I get bored, I'll just move on to the next one, that kind of thing. Sunwarper, where are you at?
Well, first, I will read from the chat. Big Cloudy says for himself, if I'm doing my own music, that it's all 100% in Ableton. I always do several hours with small breaks, walking around the block, listening to bounces on my phone, away from the laptop. That's interesting. Just like while you're in the middle of it, taking a render out and listening. I also play guitar in a band, which is a completely separate thing. Like Eon Lake, I'm usually working on about 6 tracks in tandem. Yeah. That's cool. Interesting. I like that idea. I've never thought to just like, usually when I'm in the mixing phase, I'll do those walking breaks, but just like while in the middle of the song, get it. Because I mean, I know I always read like psychologically taking walks usually is the best time to get ideas and like the brain gets flowing. So that's a really cool idea. But for me, I vary depending on the context of what I need to do. You know, like if I'm largely mixing tracks at the moment, then I will have dedicated times. I try to create music, like create a loop or a bar and just like multiple things every morning. I fall out of that every once in a while, but it's just like, you know, I work through the day and then I just stop and shut it off at night. Like I don't like to get in those moments where I just like have to keep going and going, because usually I get to the point like Hydro Fighter and Eon Lake said where it's like you just work all night and it's for nothing. and you wake up the next day and it's terrible or something. And also, my most creative moments are in the morning. I don't know about you guys, but at night, I'm completely useless at night for music making. Yeah. So I just will play video games or watch TV or something. You know, I spend time with my fiance. That's the most important thing. So I like to do morning, get the creative part out, and then during the afternoon do the mastering work or mixing, things like that. And yeah.
Cool. Well, there we go. That'd be nice to see. We'd like to know what you guys think about these kinds of things. The striking the balance is always important, and it's important to ensure that not just for the quality of the music, but also for your own mental health, that you don't take these things too far. So we'd be keen to see what you have. We had a few things from Bit Cloudy in the chat. We'd like to know, looking back, what you guys think about everything. So yeah, let us know.
Yeah, Bit Cloudy also said about walking a dog in the morning. It's sort of in progress. I find it so useful to listen away from the creative process, to separate those things.
Yeah. Yeah, he also they also said, when my wife is at home, I don't do any music at all. Morning is best for me too. Yeah, looks like we're on the same wavelength there.
Wavelength.
I like to when I walk the dog, I like to listen to music of the genre I'm working in to get me started in the morning. Because I don't listen on headphones when I walk. A, I like to hear what's going on, but B, they bother my ears if I wear those in-ear ones. So I just listen on my phone. So the phone usually isn't the best metrics of a mix, but I do always like to test my songs on a phone because that's how a lot of people will listen. But I like to do that to kind of get my morning started with ideas in terms of sound production, levels of things, stuff like that. And then throughout the day when I drive or if I'm doing stuff, I always listen to metal or something far away from what I'm working on, because I want to get those other influences kind of in my head, so I'm not just ripping directly off of stuff from the same genre,
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad you're not listening to the metal when you're walking the dog, because you'd probably be running.
I have before.
Choking the dog.
I had put on the Doom soundtrack one time, and that didn't go over well with a lot of the people in my neighborhood, so we had to change that up. I'm not bumping it. I mean, it's very quiet. I don't think you'll hear it. It's not loud, but
I've just got a vision of you walking down with a boombox on your shoulder and baggy pants.
With Obi on one hand and a boombox, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think I've said it before, though. I do sometimes listen to stuff. I sometimes fall asleep listening to reviewing mixes. I'm not actually listening to stuff. What I'm trying to do is just put it in the subconscious. I can work on it in my sleep.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Maybe at some point in the future, something will come out as a result of that. I don't know. I can check it works, but sometimes I do that just for subliminal.
You never know. Maybe that's where the whiteboard ideas come from.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know where any of it comes from, so.
Yeah.
Hard to say, but I must say we are so fortunate these days. With there used to be a time when Total Recall you needed £120,000 mixing console, and even then you'd only get your line levels back. You'd still have to patch all your outboard back into the desk and so on. We could just recall a song in seconds. Everything about it sounds exactly the same. Why not use that? Flip between songs. It makes life so much easier. It gives you the variety that your brain craves just to keep going. Hugely helpful for me.
That's what you need.
Great, we can do it.
That's cool. All right. Well, that's a very nice, interesting round robin for the day. Working on a bit of production and mental health is always nice.
Important to talk about and to share what we all do to kind of deal with the stresses of it and things like that. Entirely.
Next time you take a week off, Curtis, actually take a week off.
Oh,
never. No, I do. I haven't. I enjoy it. I haven't done it in a long time. I'm very structured usually, and especially since starting Audionautic a couple of years ago. I'm a lot more structured than I once was.
Thank God.
But yeah, you have to be.
Now it's all Google calendars and bothering me with those.
Exactly. I mean, you got to if you run it something like this, you have to stay organized.
Yeah.
But I had a week off work. It was the first week off work I think in about 2 years, and it's all about my stuff and kind of Curtis and filling in his story and kind of getting back to the roots of why the album itself was being written. And I jest and I joke and I exaggerate for effect. I mean, I loved it. It's great. I don't do it that often. But I did come out of it with a very interesting point, as if to say, okay, where is the line? How do we draw this line, and what is it to do? Because it is incredibly important to make sure that we don't go too far. We don't neglect the other aspects of our lives in order to get this done.
That's true, but I also feel like it can also, some of that balance is taking those moments where you just invest 100% into it and get a renewed vigor and love of it. You know what I mean? Like if you're falling out of it,
he just went back to his roots.
Exactly.
Well, yeah,
but I'm
exactly.
saying, like, sometimes I think it's important because you're saying you thought about where is the balance and finding it, but sometimes it's throwing the balance out, going all in, because maybe that's what brings you back to, like you said, falling in love with that album. And just real quick, in the chat, we've got Bit Cloudy saying, "Earbuds for me when I'm walking around. I have so many works in progress. I barely listen to other music at all at the moment." See, I have to listen to other music because otherwise I feel like I get too into my own head about my own music. I kind of like having that. That's just me. But I could understand that if you've got a lot and you need to be working on them and testing them. And then Shady Ridge says, "I've been finding myself listening to soul and R&B music from the 60s lately just to change things up." Yeah, a good way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Some good sounds. Different ways of constructing mixes and stuff as well.
Very different production aspect. Or
As
aesthetic.
well.
Yeah, completely. It's always interesting. You have to find the variance, and you have to find the kind of the novelty in things in order to, like you say, bring it back and come through. Like going back to what you said about going 100% in. I fell in love with my album again. You know,
exactly.
But I've been hating my album for most of this year.
That needs to happen too.
Exactly. And now I've come back to it. I'm in love with the stories. I'm in love with the canon and where it's going to be, and what the next steps for where Curtis is going to be.
You're renewing your vows.
Exactly.
But that's exactly what I mean, because now it got you thinking about how to structure better, but you're also in love with that album again and want to work on it again. So it's like, yeah, maybe you went a little too far, but sometimes you need that to get some perspective and be like, oh, okay, I gotta, maybe I need to
Went a little too far away from it as well.
Yeah, exactly. So they brought you back, and now you can find that you have that dichotomy, the juxtaposition between the two aspects of it, and you can find that middle ground.
Exactly. And it's always good fun. So yeah, we'd like to know what you guys think and where you guys are at with this. Be curious to continue the dialogue, either in the chat or in our Discord or on Twitter or wherever. Let us know.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see. Sunwarper, do we have much in the way of marketing this week?
Well, we're past our time, but I was just going to say, and it's kind of related to the round robin, I think it's important to take breaks from everything, especially social media, and to realize like how little importance there is to it. I mean, yeah, you want to get heard, you want to get out there, but there's other avenues of it, and sometimes it's just good to step away. So like I took largely a step away. Like I didn't make any quote content in the last week. I just needed to kind of step away. Like I was posting some stories, but nothing crazy, just like not being on it much, and just like spending time with my instruments and just kind of working on music. And then from there, now I'm kind of reshaping how I'm going to approach social media, like how I want to structure my posts, and do I want to post less? Do I want to post more, like experiment? And it's kind of like I had a really good run, and then the kind of views and things like that, the metrics went a little off, so I was like, okay, let me take a step back, reapproach it, and now maybe there's a new way to tackle it.
Well, there we go. It'd be an interesting thing to see. So is that I mean, that works, taking a break from anything anything. Bloody hell, enunciate, Josh. The idea of harking back and then coming back towards it, renewed vigor, new ideas, that kind of thing. It always works.
Yeah,
completely. All right. Well, as we are 23 minutes past the second hour, maybe we should wrap this up, James. Wow, just chatting.
Yeah, where'd that time go, right?
Just chatting.
I would be curious, though, really quick, sorry to cut you off, Curtis, but on the note of taking breaks and things like that with social media, I'd just love to hear from the chat whether you've taken any time off before, or if you even invest much into social media. What's your viewpoint of it? Is it a tool? Is it this? Eon Lake is doing his patiently waiting finger raise. What's up?
I had to. I just had a case of overwhelm with
That's
everything
right.
going on.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff going on social media, how hard it is to keep track of all the stuff that I really like, people I really respect, and it's just, I felt like my head was just spinning and I just never get peace. And it's the quietness that the music tends to come from for me. And if there isn't any of that, then there's not going to be any music either. I just needed some space, some quiet, to actually come back to it and have anything to offer as well.
Oh yeah,
I'd recommend it to anyone.
Time away is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Before we head off, Hydrofighter, is there anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
Or say your piece?
No, I thought it was all good, guys.
Cool.
You take regular breaks, don't you?
Yeah.
From social media, it's like I'm not connected on a daily basis. If I do it daily, I just burn out, and I feel like I'm looking at the same redundant stuff all the time. So usually every couple of days, and I switch it up between the different like Facebook and Twitter and whatever else. I just don't go to the same things at the same time to break different content.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah,
variety is the spice of life. That works. Well, on that note,
hold on, I'll do the little finger raise because we got
a
few more chats. We got a few more
ahead.
chats I want to read because I asked people to give their thoughts. Big Cloudy said, "It's funny how you feel totally different. It's funny how you feel totally differently towards your own stuff if you leave it for a few weeks or months without listening." That's true. Like when you're in the thick of it and in the thick of mixing and stuff, you start thinking things sound bad or this or that, and then you take a break and you come back a few months later, you're like, I don't even hear any of those problems. It's just your ears being tired or just losing objectivity. And then Mark says, taking off is a really important matter. One just needs a culture of returning. Yeah, that's what we were discussing of finding that balance. Is if you're in it too much, like you can get too invested in it and it starts becoming an issue or you face burnout. So it's like figuring out. You take that break, you come back to it, and you have either renewed sense of vigor or how to structure it a little bit better. And then Bit Cloudy also says, I do not enjoy social media at all. Yeah, I like looking at Twitter, but don't find posting it all natural and eats into time if I'd rather spend doing music. I'm envious of people that seem natural on it. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's truly, truly natural or if they're just well practiced at it and know what their fans or followers like to respond to, using metrics and things like that. There probably are people who are just natural.
Music. That pull away from music comment, that really resonates with me as well.
It's true. It's very true.
I'd rather be.
Yeah. The issue is like if you're trying to do music full time or something, social media can seem like it's a necessary evil to a degree. So like for me, it's finding that balance of not letting it take over, but using it to spread word and get things like that.
Yeah. But you're going to do it, aren't you? But do you ever feel that you are just what I'm doing now is not making music?
Yeah, that's why I try to
understand why I'm doing it. But
I try to film the process so that it's not anything extra, right? Like I'm filming when I record it. Like I've got Glass Taurus coming out on Saturday, a new release, and Curtis did an awesome remix for it. It'll be out on Friday, not Saturday. Sorry, this Friday. And like when I was moving the stems to the SP for a live set, I just recorded that, and that's the next reel I'm going to post. So it's like nothing extra, It was just filming the moment.
Maybe that's something that we could explore to a greater extent in a future episode, the idea of streamlining your marketing side of things. That might be quite good fun to chat about.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments when this is done if you want us to explore that.
Yeah, exactly. For now, we shall love you and leave you. For it is 28 minutes past the second hour, and it's our show, so we can go for as long as we want. But it's probably time we let people get on in the name of stepping away and then coming back.
There we go. Nice. So, boy, we've been full of segues today that were just on it. I like it.
And we a lot of accomplishments. We've gone. We did quite a few segues, and we've gone an entire episode without mentioning a certain plugin. So I mean, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Exactly. So we thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you so much for people in the chat, people sharing all that stuff. We love you. Hydrofighter, it's been wonderful to have you back on. It's always lovely. Missed you last week. So it's always nice.
I missed you guys too.
We missed you, man. Yeah. And it means a lot, everybody in the chat, for tuning in and if helping spread the word on Twitter, as we talked about social media, or just sharing, liking over on YouTube, or even giving a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps a ton. We appreciate it. And until next week, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, take it easy.